Hello everybody, my name is Carla. Welcome to my channel. I am incredibly excited for this week's video because I'm going to be reading very popular authors or books. Two very popular authors, one very popular book that I have not read before. I am a little bit nervous because I do have a tendency to not always love the most popular books. I'm hopeful for all three of these that I'm going to absolutely love them. This week I will be reading Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. Less popular author, more very popular book. I've never read anything from her either. And I bought it, when did I even buy this? Months and months ago, and I've just been putting it off. I'm excited. I actually don't know much about it. I just know that in one of my TBR jar videos I had to pick a book with the best first sentence, and I thought, oh, I'll pick this one up and see what it is, and the first sentence actually put me off of it because it is very long, if I remember correctly. I was like, this is almost a run-on sentence. Yeah, the first sentence is that. But I'm still excited. I think it's about video games, right? I love a good game. I prefer a cozy game. I'm not sure what kind of one this is about. I know that it's made people very emotional and that a lot of people have rated it very highly. So we're going to start with that today. And then when I'm done that, I'm going to move on to Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I've never read any books by her. I'm really ready to get immersed into this life and this world. The third book is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. And I love a good fantasy, and I actually haven't read a really good fantasy in a while, probably a couple of months, but for me that feels long. The thing is, I wanted to start with this book, but I struggle when I am reading a really good high stakes fantasy book and I have to just go to bed on time and go to work the next day. So my thoughts are to read this last, simply for the fact that I can just kind of have the whole weekend to read it. It's Monday today, so I think this will be third, I'm not sure. But all three of these books got picked in my March TBR from my jar prompts, so it felt very fitting to do reading these very popular authors and books specifically for the first time. I'm hoping to get really good books. My track record with reading lately is subpar, I would say. I'm not hating a lot of the books I'm reading, though I did DNF 2 last month. I'm just not loving anything, and I really want to find a few 5 stars this month, so this feels like the right place to move into. Let's just start reading and see what happens. That is a lie. I am walking the dogs first and then reading. I didn't know where to set up because my whole bedroom is messy. There's clothes right here. The bed's half made so that it looks like it's made. My nightstand looks okay, but anyway, we're here today. How does my bathroom look? Normal. It's Friday. I started this book on Monday. I read 25 pages on Monday and 25 pages yesterday, so that's as far as I got. I feel like a bit of a failure, but I didn't feel like reading. I had Tuesday and Wednesday off of reading. I mean, I edited my whole last video. It took a lot longer than I thought it would. I'm not instantly being gripped, and it's been a long week. Today was my last day at my current job, and it's very bittersweet. It's a little bit sad to leave a company because you can't work there anymore, but I loved everybody I worked with, especially my office mate. We just had this connection. It's been a rough day. It's been a heavy day. As soon as Zach and I were both home, we walked the dogs right away. So it is Friday at about 6:30. So I don't have very many thoughts yet because I'm not very far. It hasn't gripped me completely. I love Sadie's video game. That is where you kind of start-ish, is their connection in this video game that she made. I love a woman in this world where she says she's one of only 2 girls in her classes at MIT, is I think where she goes. My problem is Sam, our other main character. I don't think he's my favorite. He seems a little bit self-pitying, but maybe that's not what I mean. I just mean he seems a bit off. I mean, I'm only on chapter 4 or something like that. I'm in the middle of a chapter. Sadie, I like her parts and reading about her parts, but so far all we really know about her is that she made a morally gray choice at age 11 and now has made a morally gray choice at age 20. Those are the 2 things we know about her, and that stresses me out too. I hope that something happens now where she kind of proves that I want to root for her, because so far I don't really want to. I see why Sam was moody about the thing that he was moody about when they were 11. I'm fine with it, and I think he'll grow on me. But right now, I'm just not loving our characters because they're very human. I usually love a very human character when they seem like people that I can be friends with, even though they are human. Because, everybody makes mistakes, but these people I'd be like, oh, I don't think I'd get along with them. Maybe I prefer to read books about people I think I get along with, but I don't know if that's true. I've never really thought about that before. I like video games, so I was looking forward to that part of it too. I think I might have just gone with too high expectations, or this was just the wrong week to do this because I was quite, I don't know, emotional and bent out of shape in a weird way. Anyway, that's where we are. I'm going to take a bath now. I'm going to read as much as I can. I have my Diet Coke in a wine glass ready for my bath. And let's hope this continues a little bit stronger, because at this point I would like to hopefully finish all 3 books by Monday night. That would be ideal. I have a week off, but I want to spend it playing like Hogwarts Legacy and Sims. So if I can finish this tonight, that would be ideal. I might be up too late though, and I don't really want to stay up late if I don't have to. I'm bored. I read in the bath yesterday, and then I tried to read more in bed, and I fell asleep at like 8:30. I think I needed it, like after just knowing that I was done my job, and just I needed the sleep. I slept for like 11 hours last night, and it was wonderful. And then I tried to read more this morning, and I just don't want to. I don't dislike it enough to give up completely, but I don't like it enough to read today. So I've decided to keep going with the audiobook. I enjoy the narrator. I think it's like 10 hours, but I listen at 1.5 speed, so a little bit faster than that. I have like little chores to do anyway. I gotta water all my plants. I gotta fold my clothes. My room is a bit messy. I just have some organization to do. I'm gonna make some protein bars for the week. So I'm gonna keep listening while I do that, and then I can listen while I like play Sims or Animal Crossing or something. So that sounds wonderful. I'm just bored. I don't dislike the writing, and I don't dislike the plot. I just really don't think I like our characters at all, our 2 main characters. I like that everything seems platonic between them. I actually really enjoy that, and I hope it stays that way. There's no romantic interest on either side, and I think that's wonderful. I also love their origin story and how they met each other, but I don't like either of them individually. So I'm finding it so difficult to read it. I really like Marks, which is Sam's roommate and their game producer. I think their video game seems interesting. Characters are the number one thing in a book to me, and I don't really love both of them, but I want to keep going to see what happens. I'm on page 100, so I'm about a quarter of the way through, and it's taken me 5 days to get a quarter of the way through this book. That's very telling. I also want to add, one of the reasons I'm really not enjoying the reading is I started skimming because she likes to add lists of things and descriptions, and as soon as I see a list start, I just skip the paragraph because I know it's just going to keep going. I feel like I should find the description of LA. I think that's the one where I was like, oh my good gracious. Stadiums built, hotels refurbished, decrepit buildings detonated, flora planted, less appealing native flora removed, roads paved, bus routes added, uniforms created, musicians recruited, dancers hired, corporate sponsors slapped on any surface that would receive a logo, graffiti painted over, homeless discreetly relocated, coyotes euthanized, bribes paid, deeper schisms around race, and oh my goodness, stop it. I understand. That was one sentence. Remember when I said that I read the first sentence for a prompt and I decided not to read this book because it was a long sentence and I didn't like it? It's kind of the book. Other than those moments, the writing is okay, it's decent. I am not understanding the hype yet. I hope I begin to. Okay, it's like 4:30. I have been listening to this book since, what time was it? 1? And I don't have much to say still. I think on Spotify it says I'm 70% of the way through. Here? I'm here. 70% of the way through, according to Spotify. I think I'm just going to rush through reading the end. I don't feel any differently. I'm not loving this book. The thing is, I love playing video games, so that makes me really sad. Like the amount of times that it references Zelda, and now it's brought up Harvest Moon, which is like my comfort game. I love Harvest Moon. I have so many variations of it that I've played, and one of the games that they made is kind of based on this idea of Harvest Moon, and I love that, and it sounds like a game that I would love to play, but I still don't like our characters. Marks is the best character in this because he just has like grace and understanding, and I really hope he doesn't get bit in the ass. I think that their friendship is believable. I don't really care about Sadie or Sam. I don't know. And the lists, oh my goodness, there was another one and it just kept going and going. Even like I'm on 1.8 now, and even the narrator was like, she almost sounded sick of this list. And now the reason I thought to stop is because I was just kind of jolted while I was playing Sims because it changed to a male narrator, which I wasn't expecting. About 100 pages left. And I'm just going to read it so that I can go kind of fast. I'm not thrilled at all. I'm so sorry. I feel so bad that I feel this way, but I think they're just both really selfish and just kind of think about themselves in every circumstance that they're in. He's so much about being blunt and saying it like it is, but he's also such a liar. Sometimes with a book where I'm not loving it, I can still understand the hype. I still get why other people love it. I don't really see it with this one. Sorry for the look of haggard. This is just who I am on Sunday mornings. Finished Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow last night, and unfortunately, my opinion hasn't really changed. I think I got to like last 50 pages and I got hungry, so I listened to the audiobook again while I cooked dinner. Didn't really feel invested in it still. I'm standing by my opinion that Marx was the best character and had the most grace for other people, but he wasn't our main character. So I think if it followed him and he was looking at them from the outside, I maybe would have enjoyed it more. But to have two main characters where both of them are just selfish people and go into every relationship thinking about what they can get from the people around them is very difficult for me to read. Maybe if one of them was a little bit more redeemable. So I'm giving this 2 stars. And I'm sure there are people screaming at me right now, like, you just don't get it. And I don't. I'm so sorry. That's kind of all I have to say about that one. And then last night, I read about 50 pages of Part of Your World before bed. I feel so much better about it. I am now 80 pages in. I just read a little bit more this morning. I'm on chapter 11, just about to start chapter 11. And I am loving this book. I think the writing is like just a notch better than other contemporary romances where the flow just keeps going and everything's keeping me in the story and I'm really enjoying it. We're following Alexis and Daniel. They are our main characters. She was at a family event and crashed her car into a ditch kind of in the middle of nowhere and he found her and pulled her out. So that's their meet cute. One of my favorite things is that in order to see each other again, she kind of had to reach out and go out of her comfort zone and find him where he was. And I love that. It made me realize that I haven't read a book in a very long time where their second meeting is also not a random encounter. Intentionality is romantic too, and we don't see it very often, and it's so realistic in our current world. And the other thing that's really cool is there's an age gap, but it's her that's older. I'm with someone my own age, but I find that so empowering for some reason where they're both like, yeah, this is what it is. We have this connection to each other. We kind of have to run with it. We don't really have a choice because when it's there, you can't just ignore it. So I'm only about a quarter of the way through, but I am really liking it already. And I'm excited to see what happens. I'm always nervous for romance books because I always fear that the conflict is going to be miscommunication. So I really hope that's not what the conflict is. There's also a tiny bit of foreshadowing for side plot stuff, which I think is really cool. I don't think we get a lot of that in other books either. I've never read an Abby Jimenez book as per this video, the reason I'm doing this video, but so far she's kind of blowing me away. I love Daniel. It is so nice going from characters who are selfish and always thinking about what they can get from others to someone who is super generous and not pushy and open about how he's feeling. I'm really liking it. I'm gonna keep going. It's 12:30. The sun did come out, so I took the opportunity to walk the dogs. But we're back. So I kept reading. I'm about halfway through, probably exactly. And I am now seeing where the conflict is going to come in, I think, and it's making me like Alexis less because for every moment that Daniel is open and honest, she kind of does the little white lies and chooses not to tell him things. And I don't know yet if it's more because she's embarrassed or because she's just really closed off. I'm not sure. It's definitely in line with her character. It's just some people are that way and it's actually very realistic pattern for her. So I am appreciating that. She needs new friends, but that's obvious to everybody, including her, except for her one best friend. But she is away for the weekend with 2 of her friends, and they are kind of unbearable. I still love Daniel. I still prefer his perspectives of things because he is just so mature. Like, even when he was mad at her, he was just so mature about it. And there's these little nuances that I really appreciate in the writing where I can like visualize how they're interacting with one another. Everything just feels described in a way that I can totally visualize it. So I actually really appreciate that. I'll read for another half hour, then eat lunch, and then keep going because I am still really enjoying it. So I'm just editing this video and realized I never shared my final thoughts on Part of Your World. I swear I did, so I'm wondering if I just lost the footage somehow. Can you tell I'm like thriving at doing YouTube? I really enjoyed the book. I'm like
so mad at myself for this because it's been over a week since I finished it. No, probably actually exactly a week since I read it. I really enjoyed it. I didn't think much differently at the end. I rated it 4 stars in the end. And I slowly got to like Alexis more, and my love for Daniel just kept growing. I really, really loved him. I ended up tabbing like the second half. I know I filmed this. I must have lost it. I ended up tabbing the second half a lot because I loved it so much. I found the second half of the book actually better than the first half, I think. I really like how they passed time and didn't spend too much time in the monotonous parts. And like I had said before about the foreshadowing of the side plot stuff, it actually all really paid off in the end. Bree continued to be my favorite character, her best friend, and then we saw that you see at the end that Bree is going to be the next book, which is really exciting. So I'm definitely going to have to keep reading. I really, really, really liked it. I wish that I had more to say a week later. I'm wondering how I feel because I don't remember exactly what happens in the story. I know that Alexis got on my nerves a little bit. She acted like the more immature of the two of them, which I think is nice because I feel like in most books it's the man who's immature. If you compare it to other contemporary romances, I still feel like it is out of their league because it doesn't follow necessarily a plot point that I've read before. There's a lot of disjointedness in their finances and their way of life, which is normal. But I don't know, I feel like the tropes were just their own kind of tropes, and I never knew what was coming. And for a small town romance, it definitely was unique in the way that it was written. I really did like it. Now I'm wondering if 4 stars is too high if I can't remember. But I'm gonna leave you with that. Then I started reading Mistborn that same day. I think I started it on, no, I started that on Monday. I started reading Mistborn on Monday, the day that I was hoping to be finished this video. There's some foreshadowing of my own. So it turns out the same video I lost where I talk about part of your world is where I talk about the start of Mistborn. I'm so frustrated with myself. It's really annoying because I think I described it really well. Because I was saying I've seen a few YouTube videos where people have read Mistborn and they're like, I can't really describe it, but it's a lot like Six of Crows. And that worried me because I didn't really like Six of Crows. I actually struggled through it and I think it took me a long time to read. So I was nervous to read Mistborn because of this. It is not at all like Six of Crows to me outside of found family and performing a heist. It's so much better. It is much more high fantasy seeming and much more adult problems and better described magic system. It just, Mistborn is an amazing book, and right from the beginning, I was hooked. Are following two main characters, Kelsier and Vin, and their dynamic is a lot like Dumbledore and Harry Potter because she doesn't really know the extent of the magic that she can use, and he kind of teaches her how to use it. It's a wonderful dynamic that I was not expecting because at first I was like, oh, our main character, Kels, is 35. I love that. And then you're introduced to Vin, who's 16, and your first thought is, crap, not one of these books with like an age gap that is not okay, but that's not what it is at all. And it's really good. What else? I kind of tried to explain the magic system when I talked about it because there's these 8 metals. Nobility from centuries ago is chosen to have these magic skills attached to, like, each metal has its own skill. And if you're Mistborn, it means that you can perform the magic for all of them and you can use all of the metals. So you learn pretty quickly that Kelsier is Mistborn and that Vin doesn't realize that she herself is also Mistborn. And so he kind of brings her under his wing into his crew and teaches her how to use it. It is a wonderful start to a book, and I was hooked after 4 pages. And I think that is worth noting because I feel like all of these high fantasy books, especially the first one, it can take like 100 pages to get into it because you're trying to understand the magic system. And this one, obviously, you're trying to learn all of these things as well, but I was into it immediately. The world that they're in really reminds me the whole time I'm reading of like Tatooine. I think that's where Anakin is from, right? Just because it's very dry and arid and just how it's described. And the slave people are called Ska, and it just reminds me of his mother being a servant. So I really pictured Star Wars for a lot of it. And I wonder if part of that is because where they live is called the Final Empire. So I think that might have something to do with it, where it just like maybe subliminally told my brain to picture Star Wars. I'm not sure. And the way that characters are introduced so slowly, yet in one chapter, is amazing. You are not overwhelmed with information at one time. The only thing that I found a little bit of a slog from the beginning is the fight scenes, which I mention again later. We will get to that later.
It's days later. I'm about halfway through the book. I promise you I'm loving it. It's Thursday, and I was hoping to have this video up yesterday. I am loving it. I really am. It's just I have the week off work, and I've spent about 90% of the time playing Hogwarts Legacy because I have the days right now, and I'm kind of hooked. Today I need a break though, so it's a good time to read, except it's already 2 o'clock. So I was like, oh, I'll get this video up today. And I'm like, I'm not gonna finish this and get the video up today. I'm gonna read anyway. I am really, really, really enjoying it, I promise. I'm on chapter 20, page 326. There was kind of just a little plot twist going on, and I don't think we got enough answers, but that's okay. I'm still getting Dumbledore Harry Potter vibes from Kells and Vin, but more like Horcrux hunting time, of like they're going on these expeditions together and getting hurt and trying to defeat the Lord Ruler together, and it's very interesting. I actually love the dynamic. I think Kells might not be exactly who we think he is. I wish we got more from his perspective than Vin's. Right now, Vin is mainly the main character, and Kelsier kind of feels like the side main character, but I wish it was more from his point of view. I think he's just really interesting. If it was more from his point of view, I think there would be too many secrets shared that they couldn't keep a secret from us. I also know that there's going to be a big plot twist coming, and I keep trying to guess what it is, but I think there's too many variables for me to actually know what it will be. I think there's definitely going to be something with somebody betraying Vin's trust, but that's kind of foreshadowed throughout, that like she doesn't trust people and she's just starting to, so it might be like a she thinks someone's betrayed her trust, but she's wrong and doesn't know the whole story kind of situation. I'm getting that vibe, which I don't love when that happens in a book, but because I'm expecting it, I think it will be okay. Hard to write a book that's over 600 pages and not have a huge plot twist. So I hope there's something good that is not one of my numerous guesses, because there's so many little side things going on and I'm trying to keep track of them all. And I think I might be missing something. I'm not sure though. I'm also loving Vin's character development. I feel like there's a lot of books, specifically young adult fantasy books, where this is an adult fantasy book, so maybe that's why it's better, where the character development is your main character having kind of an epiphany and realizing something and being like, oh my goodness, I need to change the way I do this thing because this is not how I should be doing it, which is fine. But this one is like very nice and slow character development. Like Vin is slowly changing. Like, you know that 2 months has passed and now she's doing something slightly different because she's starting to trust somebody, and she's choosing her language just a little bit different and thinking before she speaks now months later. And I love that character development because we are seeing it happen, and it is so believable because it's not all at once and it's a learning process, and she's unlearning the way that she was raised, and I think that it's beautiful. Those are all my thoughts so far. Right now there's just a lot of heist planning going on still, and little side jobs, and maybe a hint of romance coming in that I'm not sure what that's gonna look like, but I am enjoying it when it's there. I love that it's just like a little nugget of romance and we don't actually know if it's real or if it means anything, but it's there, and it's teenage love and or young adult love, I guess. And all the adults are like, "Oh, is this real?" And I kind of love that. But the fight scenes are still a bit too long for me because it's hard to imagine. And then I'm like, I just am picturing you flipping through the air and stabbing somebody. Great, which is fine, but I don't need 4 pages to describe how you did that. Maybe that's a me thing though. That's totally fair if that's a me thing. Those are the only ones that I'm really struggling through. Other than that, I'm really enjoying it. I am going to read as long as I can. I will have to get a dog walk in here, but otherwise I am planning on just totally reading all night. So wish me luck. I would be sitting in my reading chair. It got poached. He's real cute, so it's okay. I finished Mistborn last night. Like I said, I was finally going to. I think I was like halfway when I started talking to you guys again, and I finished it in just a few hours. I think I went to bed at like 10. It was amazing. This book is so good. I'm actually kind of mad at myself for taking so long to read it and just putting it off. The second half of this book was phenomenal. The setup was necessary, but it was kind of long, and there were a couple of more fights that I found myself skimming because I was like, we already understand the push and the pull and the jump and the, like, I didn't need it over explained as much as it was, but it was still wonderful. I was reading it at one point, like I was sitting on the couch for a while, and a laugh came out of me and a gasp came out of me, and Zach was like, did you just gasp at your book? I was like, yes. Something just happened that I was definitely not expecting. I did not guess any of the twists, not one. I was wrong on everything I was thinking. Even at one point where I had like 20 pages left, I was like, oh, I have a guess. It was not right. It was wrong. It also was wild that at nearly 500 pages we were introduced to a new character POV. Not a new character, someone we knew, but we got their POV randomly at like page 470. That was crazy, but I'm not mad about it. And then I was like, wait, then why didn't we get someone else's POV? Because there was someone else who, very good character, they're in it a lot, and I wish we got more from them. But I'm wondering if we will in the next book, because they seem to be detaching themselves and going somewhere else, maybe? I don't know. But wild plot twists, wild ride. Because I didn't want to binge it after reading the first half, I can only give this 4.5 stars. I think it can't be a 5-star read, but I think there is high potential for the next ones to be 5 stars now that everything is just like solidified and I don't really need to learn as much anymore about the medals. I think I learned it well enough, and because he over explains it, you don't actually have to memorize what everything does because you know what they're using it for. So the medals get kind of confusing at some points, but not enough that I was pulled out of the story at all. This is 4.5 stars. I absolutely loved it. So that was a good way to end. I was going to say this week. It's been almost 2 weeks. 2 wonderful authors that I will definitely continue to read, and one that maybe I will stay away from. But that's pretty good. 2 out of 3. I will take it. Thanks for watching this week, and I hope you join me next week for another fun vlog.